What would you do if your sister-in-law spent a decade spinning a web of lies, painting your family as monsters to anyone who would listen? In today's story, the protagonist's choice is a masterclass in how to handle it, culminating in a Christmas dinner no one would ever forget. My twin brother, Liam, and his wife, Sophia, have been a unit since we were all 15. For the last year, they'd been married, but from the very beginning, it was clear that Sophia wasn't a fan of my family. My best friend was in the same after-school club where they met, and she'd tell me how Sophia constantly complained about my parents and me. She claimed we treated her terribly, but whenever my friend asked for specifics, Sophia would go silent, because there were no specifics to give. Funnily enough, for the first few years, my own mother was so taken with her that Sophia became the daughter she'd always wished she had. That put a strain on my relationship with my mom, but that's a story for another time. Sophia seemed perfectly happy to be around us back then, and my parents always made a point to include her in family events, like our birthdays. Of course, we were all moody teenagers, so if Liam sulked and mentioned he understood why his girlfriend never wanted to be around, or if I argued with my mom and threw out that Sophia hated her, no one took it as gospel. The years passed. Liam and Sophia survived university, 150 miles apart, and moved in together after about 6 years. I lived at home for a year after Liam moved out, and I saw the pattern emerge firsthand. My parents would invite both of them for dinner, but only Liam would show up. Sophia always had a cheap excuse. Inevitably, after about half an hour, Liam's phone would start buzzing. It would be Sophia, insisting he had to come home right now because of some catastrophe. While a few might have been real emergencies, it happened every single time. He'd get a barrage of calls and texts claiming her world was imploding if he didn't rush to her side that instant. My parents politely chalked it up to intention love, but I saw it for what it was, a clear and obvious shun. My mother felt it the most. Every month, she'd invite Sophia out for a girls' day, sometimes with me, sometimes just the two of them. The answer was always no. Then came the wedding. Our side of the family wasn't allowed to be involved in the planning at all, which was fine. What hurt was being told there would be no traditional family events like speeches or parent dances, only to sit there awkwardly while all of those things happened exclusively with Sophia's family. That night, my phone lit up with messages from mutual friends. They were asking what the drama was between our families. Apparently, Sophia had spent her wedding reception telling people we'd been awful throughout the entire process and that she and Liam were on the verge of cutting off all contact with us. This was news to us, since we were still regularly in contact, well, with Liam, at least. A few friends thought her stories were odd and forwarded me screenshots. The lies were breathtaking. My favorite was the tale of my father, the most placid man in Britain, supposedly storming over to their house to demand hundreds in cash for his gambling debts. As if that wasn't enough, she claimed my mother accompanied him, and spent the time throwing salt all over their garden to kill the grass. The story had a few holes. Firstly, my father's idea of gambling is a couple of pounds on the lottery. Secondly, they don't even have a lawn to kill. And most importantly, on the exact day Sophia sent her "OMG, you will not believe what Liam's family just did" message, my parents were out of the country on vacation. One commenter on my story later summed it up perfectly. When I started reading this, I was giving the benefit of the doubt to the sister-in-law. That all changed when you wrote about her spreading obvious lies that can't be misconstrued as anything else. Holy shit, what a nut job. They were right. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was malicious fabrication. I'm not a petty person, so I didn't go in all guns blazing. But the next time I saw my parents, I gently told them that it seemed Sophia was spreading some potentially harmful lies. They weren't surprised. They said they'd known for years that Sophia didn't like them, but had made a conscious decision to kill her with kindness, determined not to give her any real ammunition. So, I decided to sit on the mountain of evidence I had, waiting. I told myself I wouldn't act unless she did something major. At that moment, I chose to bide my time, completely unaware that Sophia herself would hand me the perfect, most public stage for her downfall. Just a few months later, the major incident came, as these things often do, at Christmas. For years, Liam and Sophia had alternated Christmas Day between our family and hers. This year was our turn. They live in the same town as both families, so travel wasn't an issue. My partner, Mark, and I were also spending the day with my family. His family celebrates on Christmas Eve, so we were able to see everyone. We arrived bright and early on Christmas morning to find Liam there alone. "Where's Sophia?" I asked. He said she was having a family emergency but would be over before the meal. Fair enough. We all started prepping the Christmas dinner, but Liam's phone was ringing off the hook. After one particularly long call that he took outside, he just stopped answering it. He confirmed it was Sophia, but claimed her phone was just messing up and repeatedly calling the last number. It was a flimsy excuse, but we let it go. Eventually, the ringing stopped. With dinner in the oven, we all relaxed for a bit, scrolling through social media and looking at everyone's cheesy Christmas posts. Mark and I were sitting on the sofa, comparing our friends' presents, when he suddenly froze. He angled his phone toward me. On his screen was a post from Sophia, shared just 5 minutes earlier to a Facebook group called something like Murderous Mother-in-Law Support Group. She must have blocked me from seeing her posts, but forgot about Mark. This single post revealed Sophia's greatest fatal flaw, a desperate need for victimhood so profound that she would invent fantasies of abuse, a trait which would ultimately seal her fate. The post read, "DH is forcing me to go to his horrid family's Christmas dinner. They make me do all of the cooking on my own but tell me it's horrible. His sister even assaulted me last time I went to their house, and she's just been kicked out of rehab so is back there again. I'm scared every day that DH is going to believe their lies about me and leave me. I'd rather kill myself than do this. Can I get some support, ladies?" Red heart, red heart, red heart. The lies were staggering. We all cooked together, and if anyone does the lion's share, it's my dad. I have never assaulted her, nor have I ever been to rehab for any substance, and as my parents had said, they were always so careful to never say a cross word about her, so she couldn't claim they did. The casual mention of suicide as a tool for sympathy was particularly vile. That was it for me. This was the point of no return. My parents' kill them with kindness strategy had failed, and now, I was about to fight fire with fire. Using her own words as the fuel, I excused myself and went up to my dad's office. I printed off copies of everything, the messages she'd sent to our friends after the wedding and the screenshots Mark had just taken of her Facebook post. There were 10 of us at dinner, so I printed enough copies for everyone at the table and wrapped each set individually. For the final touch, I stuck a label on each one, from Father Christmas. I slipped back downstairs and placed them under the tree with the other gifts, saying I'd found a few more I'd forgotten. Thankfully, everyone there was an adult, so no child's belief in Santa was harmed in the making of this revenge. The day continued. Sophia arrived, apologizing for her delay. Everyone graciously told her it wasn't a problem. We cooked, served the food, and ate. The meal was pleasant, filled with the typical Christmas cheer, but beneath it all, I could feel a storm brewing. After lunch, we gathered in the living room to open presents. Piles of gifts were exchanged, and eventually, only the small, identical mystery presents from Father Christmas were left. Finally, one of my aunts opened hers. The room was filled with the sounds of laughter and crinkling paper. Then, silence from her corner. She started reading, her expression shifting from curiosity to confusion. She looked up, her eyes landing directly on Sophia. "Sophia," she asked, her voice cutting through the festive cheer, "what does this mean about us being a horrid family?" A chain reaction ignited. My parents, Liam, and Sophia all ripped theirs open. The air went still. I watched Sophia's face. The color drained from it until she was as white as a sheet. Her eyes darted around the room, wide with panic. "Who did this?" she stammered, her voice trembling. Liam didn't even look at her. He stared at the papers in his hand, his face a mask of cold disappointment. "You did this to yourself, Sophia," he said, his voice low and firm. "You've gone too far." My parents said nothing, their silence more damning than any accusation. After a few agonizing moments, Sophia excused herself and fled the room. Liam explained that ever since they started dating, Sophia had been convinced that our family hated her and had spent 10 years trying to prove it, twisting everything from the order of names in a birthday card to the number of potatoes on her plate into perceived slights. She had no evidence, because none existed. He had no idea about the messages or the Facebook groups, but he wasn't surprised they existed. He apologized to everyone and left, texting about half an hour later to say they were home and stable, a message that eased my mother's worry about her earlier threat. I kept my role a secret until all the guests had gone. My mom admitted she suspected it was me, but said she was happy the truth was finally out in the open. I apologized for ruining Christmas Day, but she wouldn't hear it. As another commenter later pointed out, This was something that needed to be done for my family's sake. They wrote, "This problem needed to be aired out in full view of all involved so your brother and his wife can move forward with an opportunity to make some life-changing, and hopefully improving, decisions." In the days that followed, Liam contacted us to apologize again for everything Sophia had said and done. He said they needed to sit down and talk about everything before making any big decisions. I did this out of anger at the situation, not at the person herself. It was the first and only time any of us had ever been anything but kind to her. My hope is that being confronted with the undeniable proof of her own words has made her reflect on her choices and why she felt the need to lie for so many years. Ultimately, the story shows that you can't build a life on a foundation of lies. Sometimes, exposing the unvarnished truth, however harsh, is the only way to protect your family and force a necessary, long overdue reckoning. Was there another way to handle this, or was this public exposure the only option left? Let me know what you would have done in the comments below.